They laughed when you were broken. They mocked when you were hidden. They thought your silence meant defeat. But what they didn't know is that God was preparing a table right in the presence of your enemies. You weren't forgotten. You were being forged. Welcome back, Chosen One. This message is for those who walked alone, who cried in silence while others celebrated their downfall, who were told they'd never make it. But now everything is shifting. The same mouths that mocked you are watching you rise, with eyes wide open and hearts full of regret. They laughed too soon, and now they're begging to be part of what God is doing in your life. But listen closely, because what's happening next is not just about you. It's about who sent you. It's about the power that kept you alive when no one knew what you were carrying. This isn't just a comeback. It's a spiritual reversal. A divine flip so shocking, even your enemies won't be able to deny it. And if you think it's powerful now, just wait until the final minute of this video, because by then, you'll understand why God let them laugh, and why He's now using you as the proof that He never misses. So before we go deeper, hit that like button to send this message through the algorithm to another chosen one who's about to rise. Subscribe if you haven't, because this isn't motivation, this is prophetic instruction, and comment 99 below as a spiritual sign that no weapon formed against you prospered, not one. Now take a breath, because what comes next will leave no doubt. They laughed too soon. They didn't laugh because you were weak. They laughed because they were blind. They judged you based on what they could see, the struggle, the silence, the seasons where nothing seemed to grow. But they completely missed what was happening beneath the surface. Because underneath the pain was preparation. Underneath the isolation was instruction. And underneath your battles was a calling so dangerous to the enemy that it had to be hidden, even from you, until the appointed time. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of suffering, yet we esteemed him not. Isaiah 53:3. They didn't see the fire you walked through quietly. They didn't notice the nights you wept while praying for strength to keep going. They didn't recognize that what looked like a breakdown was actually a divine breaking open, so that God could pour new oil into your soul. You see, the enemy used them, used their ignorance, used their mockery, because he knew something they didn't, that you were carrying a kingdom assignment. And when God marks someone with purpose, the first thing He does is conceal them. He hides you in plain sight, covers you in layers of obscurity, lets you look ordinary on the outside, while He builds something extraordinary inside. That's why they couldn't see the crown. That's why they left you. That's why they said, "You're wasting your time. Why are you still trying?" Nothing's ever going to change. But heaven was silent, because heaven was working. You weren't rejected because you were unworthy. You were rejected because your presence exposed their comfort zones. Your light made their darkness nervous. Your dreams made their complacency uncomfortable. Your faith made their fear tremble. And God allowed it, not to harm you, but to protect what He was growing. Because if you had been celebrated too soon, if they had accepted you during the cocoon stage, they would have infected the purity of your process. You would have started depending on people instead of depending on God. Butterflies don't ask caterpillars for permission to fly. And chosen ones don't ask blind people to confirm their vision. So don't be surprised they didn't recognize you. Don't mourn the ones who walked away. God made sure they didn't see it. Because your glow-up wasn't meant to be fed by their applause. It was meant to be ignited by His fire. And here's the truth. They didn't recognize you then, but now they won't be able to ignore you. Because when God gets ready to reveal what He's been building in secret, no demon in hell, no mocker from your past, no hater on the sidelines can stop what He's about to do. You've been underestimated for just long enough. And what's coming next? It's going to silence every voice that spoke against you. But here's where it gets deeper. Because what if the rejection was never about you at all? What if the mockery was a test? What if the silence was your training ground? And what if the very ones who laughed are about to witness the kind of transformation that forces them to say, surely, God was with them all along? Stick with me, because in the next segment, we're going to uncover why God let them mock you on purpose. And trust me, the revelation will shift everything you thought you knew. Are you ready? Let's go deeper. Let's make one thing clear. God could have shut their mouths. He could have exposed the truth early. He could have vindicated you the moment they lied, the second they laughed, the instant they turned their backs. But he didn't. Why? Because heaven doesn't rush vengeance. It orchestrates it. You were never being punished. You were being positioned. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was composing a divine setup so brilliant, so surgical, so public, that not even your enemies would be able to deny it. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Psalm 23:5. Not after they leave, not in private, but right in front of them. That's why he let them mock you. That's why he didn't stop them. Because what you thought was silence from God was actually strategy from God. Every whisper behind your back, every insult that hit your chest, every fake smile and secret conversation became a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight into God's courtroom. Your humiliation became a courtroom record. Their laughter became evidence. Their betrayal? Exhibit A. He was documenting the whole thing, not to protect you from them, but to protect his promise to you from being prematurely shared with the wrong people. Because if God had vindicated you too early, they would have taken credit for your glow-up. They would have claimed they helped you rise. They would have said they always knew you had it in you. But no. God said, let them laugh first. Let them undervalue you. Let them mock your dreams. Let them walk away thinking they won. Because the bigger the denial, the greater the drama in the divine reversal. Your humiliation wasn't your ending. It was heaven's opening scene. The mockery was the drum roll before the manifestation. And here's the twist they never expected. While they were laughing at your pain, God was upgrading your name. While they were gossiping in groups, heaven was preparing your crown in solitude. While they assumed you were finished, God was rehearsing your resurrection. Because when God wants to make a point, he doesn't argue. He demonstrates. He doesn't respond to mockery with defense. He responds with revelation. And the very people who thought you were beneath them are about to watch you surpass everything they imagined. Not out of revenge, but because God is a God of glory. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. They saw your delay as a sign of weakness, but God used the delay to build depth. They mocked the cocoon, but they never saw the wings forming. And now, they'll have to watch you soar without having access to the sky you prayed for. Because here's the deeper truth. If God had removed their voices too early, you wouldn't have seen how faithful he is. You wouldn't have known the power of being kept in the shadows. You wouldn't have discovered that divine justice is always better than human vindication. Their mockery became your mirror. It showed you who they were. It showed you who you are. And now it's showing the world that laughing at a chosen one always comes with a cost. But don't get comfortable yet, because God's not done. The stage is set. The crowd is watching. And the same mouths that mocked you are about to witness something they can't explain. They're going to see you in rooms they never imagined, holding blessings they swore you'd never receive, speaking with authority they said you'd never carry. And when they ask, how did this happen? The only answer will be, God. Stick with me, because in the next section, we're going to uncover the supernatural shift that's already happening. You're not just rising, you're becoming a symbol, a sign, a warning, a vessel. And trust me, once we unpack this next part, you'll understand why they're watching you now with fear and admiration. Ready? Let's keep going. The elevation has just begun. They used to look down on you. Some rolled their eyes when you spoke of dreams. Some pitied you, not out of love, but out of arrogance. They whispered, "Who do they think they are?" Always so spiritual, always talking about destiny. What they didn't realize is that your delay was not defeat. It was design. It was divine timing synchronized with the movements of heaven, because now the divine reversal is in full motion. God is flipping the script with such force that the same ones who once dismissed you are now watching you with wide eyes, clenched jaws, and stunned silence. They don't know how to process it, because they saw you crying. They saw you stumbling. They saw you in the shadows. And now they're seeing you stand in a light they can't explain, and they can't ignore. This isn't just an upgrade. This is a supernatural repositioning. You didn't climb a ladder. You were elevated by the wind of God. You went from overlooked to overtaken by glory, from surviving in silence to shaking atmospheres with your presence. Why? Because the season of reversal isn't about revenge. It's about revealing who had God's favor all along. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Matthew 20:16. This is not karma. This is not coincidence. This is divine justice. And divine justice moves like a flood, slow at first, but unstoppable once it begins. The people who thought you were too intense spiritually, now they're secretly watching your every move. The ones who said you were too emotional are now feeling the heat of your discernment, because your glow-up is not just physical, it's energetic, it's anointed, it's territorial. Your very presence now makes rooms shift. People sense it. They feel it in their spirit, even if they don't understand it in their mind. You're not just doing better. You've become a living contradiction to everything they thought was true about you. You used to walk into rooms and shrink. Now you walk in and spirits adjust, because you carry weight. Not the weight of ego, but the weight of glory. The same people who called you delusional are now quoting your words. The same ones who said, "You'll never make it," are now asking, "How did you do it?" And here's the divine twist. God isn't just elevating you. He's doing it strategically in front of the people who need to witness it most. Because there's a message in your movement. There's a warning in your breakthrough. There's a divine signature in the way you were shattered, silenced, and then suddenly seen. This is the kind of reversal that doesn't make sense to the carnal mind, because it's not based on hustle. It's based on holy alignment. You weren't working to impress man. You were waiting on God's signal. And now that He's released you, no one can stop what's been activated. He's shifting relationships. He's transferring influence. He's unlocking doors that don't open with status, but with spiritual authority. And now the ones who thought they could block you are watching as God bypasses their system entirely. They thought it was a competition. They didn't realize it was a calling. They thought they could control the outcome. They didn't realize God was holding the pen. You are not where you are because of luck. You are not glowing because of trends. You are standing in divine reversal because God wanted to prove that when He marks a life, He finishes what He starts. And He started something in you that no betrayal, delay, or attack could ever cancel. But don't miss this. Just because you're rising doesn't mean it's over. In fact, things are just heating up. Because the more God elevates you, the more people will try to reinterpret your process. Some will say, "I always believed in you." Others will try to return, not to celebrate you, but to get access to what God built around you. And that's where the next revelation comes in. Because what happens when people want your presence, but never honored your pain? Stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to expose the hidden motives. The return of fake supporters, the clout chasers, the energy leeches, and how God is giving you spiritual clarity to guard your gates in this new level. You don't want to miss it. The shift is happening. The reversal is active, and discernment is your shield. Let's go deeper. This isn't just elevation. This is warfare in disguise. They didn't check on you when you were silent. They didn't cover you in prayer when you were broken. They didn't believe in you when the process looked like failure. But now, your name is echoing. Your light is undeniable. The same people who ghosted you during the wilderness are trying to knock on your door, not because they love you, but because they see what God is doing. And here's where the danger begins. The enemy doesn't always come to destroy you through warfare. Sometimes he comes dressed as reconnection. Not every "I miss you" is pure. Not every "let's catch up" is honest. Some are spiritual fishing attempts, designed to gain access to oil they never paid the price to carry. Some aren't coming back to reconnect. They're coming back to harvest what you've built in your absence. They laughed when you were low, but now they want to post you. They talked behind your back, but now they want to stand beside you, to gain favor with what God is doing in your life. This is spiritual opportunism. And if you're not discerning, you will confuse familiarity with loyalty. Listen carefully. Just because someone knew you before the glory doesn't mean they were ever aligned with your purpose. Don't let the same people who left you in the pit sit with you in the palace. There's a danger in allowing those who mocked your process to now enjoy your platform, because some of them don't come to support. They come to study, to copy, to dilute, to distract. They see the glow, but they don't respect the grind. They want the results, but not the refinement. They want the access, but not the accountability. And if you're not careful, you'll start feeling guilty for growing. You'll start shrinking to accommodate familiarity. You'll start inviting back what God delivered you from, just to feel less alone. Don't let nostalgia recreate bondage. Don't confuse shared history with shared destiny. Many of them are only returning because they see you've entered your harvest season. But remember, the same voices now saying "you inspire me" are the same ones who said "you'll never make it." The same hands reaching out to support you now once threw stones at your name in secret. And here's the truth. They don't miss you. They miss what being around you now represents. Your glow makes them feel important. Your progress makes them feel connected to something divine. But their motives, corrupt, confused, contaminated. This is why God is calling you to sharpen your discernment. Because the higher you go, the more you must guard your gates, not out of pride, but out of spiritual preservation. You carry oil now, and oil is costly. Not everyone who claps for your victory is worthy of your vulnerability. The anointing on your life will attract leeches, mimics, and manipulators. You must filter every reconnection through the Spirit, not through your emotions. Because Satan is subtle, and if he can't stop your elevation, he'll try to infiltrate your elevation. Don't let counterfeit supporters pollute the purity of what God gave you. This season requires you to know the difference between real covenant and recycled convenience, destiny helpers and data collectors, kingdom allies and curious spectators. Your table is prepared, but not every old face deserves a new chair. So be still, be wise, be unapologetic about your standards, because elevation without discernment is dangerous. And the sad reality? Some of the ones asking to come back still don't believe in you. They just don't want to be left out. But here's the twist. The more you say no to the wrong energy, the more space God will create for new alignments. People who love you not for your glow, but for your grit. Not for your platform, but for your purity. And that's where we're headed next. Because in this next section, we're going to expose the spiritual shift in perception. How the very same people who feared your weakness are now intimidated by your power. They don't know how to talk to you anymore, because they can't figure out how the one they mocked now makes them nervous. Stay tuned, because this next revelation will not only empower you, it will silence every false narrative ever spoken over your life. You ready? Let's go even deeper. There's been a shift in the atmosphere. You can feel it. You can sense it before they even speak. Their tone has changed. Their eyes linger longer. Their voices tremble, just a little, when they say your name now. Because something about you has changed, and they can't explain it. The same people who once mocked your silence, who chuckled at your spiritual language, who dismissed your purpose as delusion, are now watching you, studying you, speaking your name with a strange combination of respect and fear. You've become a paradox in their minds. How did the one they mocked become the one they now admire from a distance? How did the one they looked down on rise so far above the noise that their opinions no longer matter? They're not sure whether to celebrate you or protect themselves from the God who clearly walks with you. Because deep down they're realizing they weren't laughing at you. They were mocking the hand of God. And now? Now the glory is too obvious. Now the weight you carry is too heavy to deny. Now the oil on your life is leaking through your words, your eyes, your presence. You've become the evidence they never expected to see. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Psalm 105:15. This isn't just about respect. It's about conviction. They feel it now. They're haunted by the memory of what they said, how they rolled their eyes when you spoke of purpose, how they talked behind your back when you were fasting, praying, waiting. And now, they're face to face with a version of you that they don't recognize, but can't ignore. You walk differently now. You speak with divine weight. You move in silence, but your steps make noise in the spirit. You're not chasing validation anymore. You've become confirmation. Confirmation that God really does raise up the lowly. Confirmation that the rejected can be royalty. Confirmation that when man says impossible, heaven responds with, "Watch me." And here's the spiritual twist. Your rise wasn't just a promotion, it was a revelation. God didn't elevate you for applause. He elevated you to demonstrate what happens when someone refuses to fold under pressure, refuses to bow to the world, refuses to give up on what heaven whispered in private. You are now the walking aftershock of everything they tried to bury. You are the living prophecy they tried to interrupt with gossip, jealousy, and disbelief. And that's why they fear you now. Not because you seek revenge, but because your existence exposes the lie they told themselves, that someone like you could never rise, that someone like you could never matter. But now you do, not in pride, but in power, not in ego, but in evidence. You're not just seen, you're revered. You're not just heard, you're felt. You've become a mirror they don't want to look into, because when they see you, they see the favor they forfeited. They see the access they abused. They see the grace they never honored. And now they speak your name with caution. Now they bring your name up in rooms with a little hesitation, as if they're waiting for thunder to follow. Because they realize they weren't opposing you. They were opposing what God placed on you. And that comes with consequences. There is a holy intimidation that follows the chosen. It's not about being feared like a tyrant. It's about carrying a frequency that rattles small spirits. You don't have to raise your voice, your fruit speaks. You don't have to prove anything, your peace intimidates chaos. That's what's happening now. So what do you do with this strange new tension, this awkward balance of admiration and avoidance? The stares that say, "I honor you, but I'm not sure how to approach you anymore." You let it be. Because it's not about you. It's about what you represent. You're walking proof that those who endure the fire come out with the fragrance of heaven. And that's why they whisper now. That's why they feel nervous when they see you smile. That's why they don't know how to act when you enter the room. Because they're not sure if they should clap or repent. But hold on. Because we're not done yet. You've seen how the tables turned. You've witnessed the mockers become murmurers. You've felt the shift in their tone. But now, in this final moment, comes the reason behind it all. Why did God allow it? What was the purpose behind the pain, the laughter, the silence, and now the spotlight? The answer is bigger than your story, bigger than your enemies, bigger than you. In the final conclusion, we'll uncover the heavenly agenda behind your transformation and why you were never just chosen to rise, You were chosen to awaken others. The final revelation is coming, and it's going to change how you see everything. Let's finish this. Chosen one. You were never the joke. You were the threat they didn't recognize in time. You were the seed they buried, not knowing it would become a forest of fire. They thought your silence was weakness. They thought your isolation meant God had forgotten you. But heaven was just tightening the grip on your destiny. And now, your silence has become thunder. Your glow is no longer negotiable. Your presence is now prophetic. This wasn't a comeback. This was a divine unveiling. You weren't fighting for attention. You were being built for the throne, from overlooked to overqualified, from mocked to magnified, from rejected to resurrected. This is not revenge. This is redemption. This is not ego. This is evidence. You are the prophecy that survived. You are the testimony they tried to laugh out of existence. You are the weapon that formed and prospered. And now, the same world that dismissed you will have to witness you rise. Let them laugh. Let them whisper. Let them remember the version of you they once ignored. Because when God flips the script, no one can rewrite the ending. You were never meant to blend in. You were always meant to set the atmosphere. You were chosen not to be liked, but to be lifted. Not to entertain crowds, but to awaken generations. You are not finished. You are just beginning. And your name is being written into the chapters of divine history. If this message struck your soul, drop a comment right now and declare it boldly. I am rising. Let the enemy hear it. Let your past feel it. Let every delay know you're coming back crowned. Comment below, they laughed too soon. Subscribe for more divine messages, because this is your spiritual home now. Share this video with another chosen one, someone who's about to shake the very ground they walk on. And remember this, when heaven says it's time, no demon, delay, or doubt can keep you hidden. It's time. Rise, roar, and never shrink again. This is your era. This is your evidence. This is your elevation. Let them watch. Let them weep. Let them witness. What happens when God says, "That one is mine"?